All right, it is now time for a panel about putting those nice words about diversity into action. And here with me on stage, I would like to welcome Anna Gulliksen from TietoEVRY. She is the Global Head of Talent Acquisition and Employer Brand. I would also like Juliana Araújo, Senior Product Manager at Spotify. Keep the applause coming. She's also the founder of Beela. And then we have Dora, Palfi, CEO and co-founder of ImagiLabs. More. And Petra, Ålund, Head of Technology at SEB. Welcome. Can we get another chair to the stage? Or I'll stand up.
We can squeeze in, no problem.
We're all friends. COVID is over.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And welcome to the Women in Tech stage. So, each of you have amazing but different experiences when it comes to recruiting, fostering, and nurturing a culture of diversity. But please introduce yourselves to the audience a little bit. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dora. I'm co-founder of CEO of ImagiLabs. And we are unlocking the tech industry's full potential by empowering girls to get interested in coding and technology, focusing about 8 to 14-year-olds audience. And my background was as a developer, also working at a large company. And during my first internship, I was referred to as the girl on the 7th floor, just because I happened to be the only female developer on the 7th floor. So that really set me out on this journey of wanting to change this and not let any woman in tech be nameless and an oddity, really.
Awesome. So, I did my first coding 40 years ago. 40 years ago, it's a long time.
Nice.
But what I think is interesting is, it took me a long time to say that I'm a techie. And being proud of that. Every time people asked me, I said something else. But then I realized we're all different, You can be different as a techie. So now I'm super proud of it. And I have an awesome team I'm working with. We're 3,000 techies at SEB, working with super cool partners, creating really great stuff. And what we're also doing is trying to figure out how can we get equal opportunities also in finance and savings, because there we are not as good as females. So we can really contribute in a great way to society.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Juliana Araújo. I'm a senior product manager at Spotify. But last year, I found my nonprofit organization, Beela, that is a support network that helps immigrant women and non-binary Sweden into tech. And I am very passionate about diversity and inclusion. And I think it took too long for me to find my own voice. And it happened especially when I moved from Brazil to Sweden, and I had so many chances and opportunities to go to spaces that I never thought I would be. So I just realized when I arrived here that since I found my voice, I couldn't be alone, and I needed to raise others as well. And it was one of the reasons why I founded Beela. And my motto is that we should lift others while we climb. So that's exactly what Beela is doing. We are climbing and we are lifting others in our journey.
Wow.
My name is Anna Gulliksen, and I work as Head of Talent Acquisition at TietoEVRY, which means I'm responsible for the employer brand and for the recruitment. And TietoEVRY, we are in the tech industry, and we are in Sweden like 5,000 employees. But the tech as an industry stands for 186 billion, which means that it's almost as much as the other industry. So tech is our new basic industry. Oh. And that comes with financial muscles working in the tech. So therefore, tech is extremely important. But the other thing, and I think more important, is if you're looking into the need and the need for developing the business, digitalization goes cross. Digitalization is the backbone of every other business today, which means that we, as a tech industry, has a responsibility. because we are in the power. We have the financial muscles, and we are also the one that are also creating the future of tomorrow when we look at the societies. And that means, and I will now come to my point here, that means that for us, working in the tech industry, we also need to reflect the society we are working in, because we need to provide solutions for the citizens, for the companies, and therefore diversity are crucial. Otherwise, we will get solutions that are designed by men and made for men. And that, I think, that is so important.
Over it,
and
yeah.
that is why I am so proud of working with this type of topics and working with these questions. And just looking here, we see all these brilliant,
Yes.
mainly female people here again. So that's why I think diversity are so important in the tech, because it's about power.
I agree. And when it comes to diversity, it's quite common to confuse ambitious goals, like saying we're going to have 50-50 men and women at this company, with strategy. What are some strategies that we can actually deploy to get to a more diverse place? Petra, do you want to start?
I still want to be a bit old-fashioned. I still think you need to set the numbers somehow if you want to make a change. And I had an awesome mentor, 2005. He was the chairman of a big steel company, where not a lot of females. But he said, every time I want to see a female candidate. And of course, for a lot of positions, there weren't any candidates. But after asking and asking, you know, you will find them, and I used that when I worked before at Sandvik. You know, we wanted to find females working with networks. There are not that many, but we did find one in Singapore, and we hired her. So I think sometimes, you know, you take it easy out. You don't find how much did you actively search, and if you don't put the number or target, how will you achieve it? Because I think by setting a target, you can break it down. How will that happen? And you can do it in many different ways. We want more females, so we engage in pink programming. You know, having volunteer females teaching others to code. I brought my daughter 4 years ago, and she said, you know, I want languages. I don't like what you do, Mom. And after, you know, these hours, she came back and said, you know, it's like a language. I think I'm going to do some courses at the university, and it has served her well. And I think there are so many things, if you set that target, what can you do? When you have your master thesis, when you have your interns, you know, be a bit picky who you offer that to. I had one girl, fantastic, working at Scania, and she just stumbled into me. You know, I think this sounds interesting, what you're doing. Could I try? I mean, she had no clue. We gave her 4 weeks of internship, you know, didn't cost us anything. She then ended up studying, you know, how to code, you know, did 4 years. She's still within Scania after all those years. So I think there are so many small things, but if you don't have a target, how will it happen? So I think really setting those targets. And the other, I think the largest part we do is role modeling. We have an awesome team working with analytics and data. And I think, honestly, there are hardly two from the same nationality. They are from all the parts of the world, you know, all kind of genders. I mean, but they want the most brilliant mathematicians working together. So I think also showing those teams, showing what is the difference and making it real. And really that, and the guy leading that, you know, is really taking that time, because, you know, if we have more of those, it will also attract others to do the same. So I think it was some hands-on tips.
How did the rest of you feel? Any other strategies that you deploy?
I could just add maybe a bit of a controversial thought here, but I think it's so amazing that so many companies are doing a lot of work now to recruit more diverse talent. But if you do look at the numbers of how many talent there is in the market, right, who's diverse, like the numbers won't work out. You can't get to 50-50 at every single company. And so a lot of companies who are more proactive, like some of you here, are able to have more diverse talent. But then the industry overall can't change unless you also accept that you need to encourage women to get into these studies in the first place, and also are willing to perhaps hire women from tangentially like relevant fields like mathematics, and then be willing to train them over to computer science. So I think you also need to do that, because if you just go for the talent that already exists, you can't fill the
No, it's a yes and. It's like yes and. But Juliana, you started Beela to guide more women and non-binary people into tech. So if I'm looking for a job, I want to make sure that I'm in a safe, happy place. Like, what should I look for? Like, how do I tell if a company's walking the walk? Or
I think that's an excellent question. And I really believe that companies that are really committed with diversity, they take care of small details. So sometimes when you're applying for a job, take a look at the job description. So are they using gender-neutral words? Do they include alt text in images? Do they care about neurodiversity, accessibility? So whenever you get the first recruitment call, do they ask you about your pronouns, the ones that you prefer to use? Do they ask if you need any accessibility to be in place for the interview or even remotely? Another thing that I think it's very good tactic, it's check their websites and LinkedIn profiles. And I know that you're not going to see a lot of diverse in leadership, and that's a reality. We know the numbers, right? But then ask, what are they actively doing to change? And I think diversity, and this is going to hit some of you very hard home now, but committing to diversity, it's not about like having one Slack channel with women in tech.
Yeah.
That's not enough.
That's not it. No, not enough.
You need buy-in, and you need allies, and you need leadership into this with a budget and roles, paid roles, right? Not only volunteer roles, but having heads of diversity and people really committed to make a change. I think I think it's also good to look at the employee benefits as well. So whenever you're applying for a job, ask, do they give parental leave? Do they consider multiple genders? Do they consider adopting, for example, as a parental leave benefit? So I think benefits also says a lot about how a company is committed.
Do the rest of you have other green flags about if a company is doing well diversity-wise? So what are the things we looked at?
I think normally if you change, I reach out to my network, LinkedIn, and normally you know somebody that knows someone, and you discuss and you ask. I think nowadays, would you say yes if you haven't checked? I think it's so easy to find out. There is always someone you connect to, and I recommend that to everyone. Connect and ask. And of course, you can meet somebody that were a bit unlucky, but I think asking before, it's so much your choice.
Juliana, you mentioned the ad, and I know for myself that how you write the ad matters. And Anna, you're head of talent acquisition. You know about employer branding. That is what you do. So can you share other things we can do in our hiring process to hire for diversity?
But I would like to give two perspectives on that before.
Go for it.
And the first one is, in a survey of 2,000 bosses, 33% said that they would decide, the time it would take for them to decide whether they would hire a person or not is 90 seconds.
What?
So 90 seconds to make that quite strategic decision.
Yay.
The same survey also said that what we will make our impressions upon, and also consequently of future decisions. 55% said that they would make their impression based upon how the person dressed, walked in the room. 38% said that they would make their impression about the grammar, the word, the tonality. And only 7% said they were made their impression upon what the person actually says. So, could it be so, as we as human individuals are a bit biased when making hiring decisions? That is my first perspective. The other perspective, and the other goes more onto the gender, and this has been proven by research over and over again, and that goes to the job ads. Say that you have a job ad with 10 requirements. For a female to consider to apply, she needs to fill 8 out of 10, just to consider to apply. For a male, 50%. So already there, you can see that there is an imbalance when we're looking into application. So what can we then do to make sure that we are more structured and have a more diverse? And there are two examples. And the first one goes actually to the job ads. And we did a survey together with a researcher. And we looked into, there were three main things. We looked into the wordings. And we also replaced the masculine coded word by more neutral coded word.
Do you have an example? What's a masculine
It could be, instead of professional, we used experienced as an example. So there were some of those words that we actually replaced. And I think it was replaced by engage. Actually, I don't remember all the, but there were some concrete examples. And then it was also about making the list concrete. Because, as I said, if you're looking into the requirements, so make the list short and concrete. What do you actually need? And then looking into the tonality, pictures, and so forth. And the third one goes also to give examples, to give concrete examples. So by doing that, we also actually could see that that increased the number of female applicants by doing these adjustments in our ads. The second one you can do if you're looking into how to bring in a more diverse set goes to the recruitment processes. And a couple of years ago, we looked into for our graduate recruitment. And as many of you know, there is company like us has a big need. And I think there are many here that represent companies that have a huge need to bring in young talent. We are not the only one. And these talent knows that, which means that you need to create processes that are also very attractive. But they also need to assess that they have the relevant skills. They have the problem solving, the cognitive thinking, the personality, and so forth. So what we did was that we designed a process where we turned this recruitment upside down. So we start by using gamification or gamified psychometric tools, meaning we assessed the relevant skills, the psychometric, the logical thinking, problem solving, personality. But we did that in a less stressful and joyful environment. And that also increased female, because we know that the dropout tends to increase in processes where there are psychometric tools involved. So we did that, and then we did video testing, and we looked at the CVs actually when we did the matching. And then the manager met the candidate, which meant that the candidate that the manager met, and remember what I talked about, the bias, so to say that we are biased as human individuals, that didn't matter because they had okay stamp in the forehead, they filled the formal criteria when it comes to education, problem solving, cognitive thinking. So they were all employable. So that is the way, and what we can see by doing this, we have done this now for 4 years, the graduate recruitment, and only in female share, we can see that we have between 36 to 45% females in our grads. And that is really good considering we are in the tech, because normally we are 25, so to say. So it is really good. And we can also see that we increased the different nationalities as well. So I think that is also a very concrete tool how we really can have a more diverse way of recruit in people and talents.
Yes. And another important part is having people to recruit. Dora, you teach programming to young women and girls. How important is it to have role models in tech?
Yeah, I think role models is definitely one part of this big question, how will girls become more interested, right? You can't be what you can't see. So I think that's really a big part of it. But then I also like to use this phrase called peer models. So I mean, a lot of girls, especially in the age when girls tend to lose their interest. So specific data from Sweden says that at the age of 11, 86% of girls are interested in tech. But at the age of 16, it's only 36%. That's a huge drop. And it's during these years when obviously girls want to do things together with their friends. So if their friends are not interested, they will also not be interested. So I think it's really important to make it sort of normal, that it's something that they could do with their friends, it's something social. And I think this also came up earlier, that it's not just about like role models of showing someone working in tech, but more about telling the stories behind how tech is used to do good in the world, how tech is really just a tool to make a difference, or be that in fashion or media or like all these different industries, because really there's also research showing this, like girls are more interested when it's contextualized. So I think these would be all the important things to point out. And I think just a final thought is, other than role models and women supporting women, I think sort of like the allyship is so important as well, and like active encouragement by all the other genders. So it's not just women encouraging women to get interested in programming.
So true. Like, okay, we need to recruit better. We need to encourage more people to get into tech. We also need to keep the women who are in tech. We do not want us like bleeding out to other industries. I want you to stay. What can we do to keep women? Do you want to start, Juliana, or?
Maybe, yes. So I believe that one of the main reasons why women leave is because sometimes they don't feel it's a safe space or a safe environment. So I already spoke about this, having allies. I think it's one of the most important things that we need. And we need to educate people, right? We need to educate who is already there in the industry to create better spaces and safe environments for women to stay. So microaggressions, for example, is something that's it's a very hot topic right now. And I believe that giving microaggressions trainings for everyone in the organization should be a must. Because sometimes some things are so subtle that, some comments, but they hurt. And, well, this is probably, for a person that's already feeling a lot of imposter syndrome, that has a struggle to have a voice in the workplace. So whenever you have, this can be a trigger to many other things. So I feel that education is so important in the workplace, not only for us women and for us with our bias as well, but also to all others, right? Everyone needs to be onboarded. So I think it starts by creating a safe place. Yeah.
Note to self, Google microaggressions probably. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think all of us here, we have worked for a while. How many are you reaching out to? On a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? I see so many examples since I've been around for a while that, in my biased view, that some girls leave the techier part too fast by not understanding how it will impact their career. And I think just by discussing, and the career can look so differently, but what do you want to achieve or do in your third job? So when you drop out of this, you will not achieve what you actually want in the long run. And I think by just reaching out, if you've done just some more years, you will help them. And you might be unlucky to be in the wrong team where it's not a great climate, you can't change it. Then change team.
Yes.
But still stay in the profession, But I really urge all of us, tap on the shoulder, reach out to somebody that has been a shorter time. And tell them, because I am so happy. I think so many times we've been lucky to guide people. They didn't understand choosing that path instead of that, what it lead to. And it doesn't cost a lot of time.
No.
Just seeing someone and asking the question. And like you said, if it's not good, dare to bring it up to discuss. I think most companies don't want it to happen, but they are not aware. Bring it up, share it.
Thank you all so much for participating in this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yes, we are about to introduce our next speaker, but give it up for this panel again.